Vergeben finally speaks, we know a little bit more about Ryu Hayabusa in Smash, and maybe Sora? What's happening, my Block buddies, and welcome to a brand new spooky episode of Blocked Content's Leak Speak here on Blocktober. My name is Callum, and this is going to be your content for today. And yeah, Blocktober is actually almost over. We have about a week left, so let's make some more spooky content. I think that we're going to have a lot of fun in a coming live stream where we're going to do Smash Brothers Ultimate games together, and it's going to be spooky and scary, so we're going to probably choose some scary characters. So welcome to today's video. I really want to talk about some really interesting developments. Of course, this past week and the week before have been crazy with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate leak news, character news, deconfirmations, confirmations, anything like that. So today is no different. We actually have some news here from GameFAQs that actually is a message from Vergeben. So as you guys know, Vergeben, and other leakers like Sabi, who get their information from other sources, they basically say these things when the platform, when everything that we know pretty much gets flipped on its head, right? Everyone is talking about Ryu Hayabusa and Crash last week, and they kind of come out of the woodwork to say, well, this is how I see things. This is the information that I have, right? So I really wanted to dive into all that, and we now know from a very reliable source that it is actually possible for Sora to be in Smash Brothers, that Disney is actually in that sort of realm right now, that it could be possible, and I really wanted to take a direct quote and analyze that and talk about it. So thank you guys so much. Here's something super special, because a lot of you Block buddies on Discord asked for it, and here on the channel, we launched a new show called Question Blocked, where I answer your questions about my thoughts on your favorite games or upcoming fighters in Smash, leaks, questions about YouTube, pretty much anything you can think of. So please send your questions to blockedcontentmail@gmail.com, and I will answer your question live on the show in one of our next episodes. And for those of you guys who like giveaways, we're giving away a beautiful, super cute Piranha Plant plushie at 50k and this awesome What's Happening, my Block Buddies t-shirt at 40k. I really want to have one, so when someone wins one, I'll probably order one for myself too. Subscribe to Block Content right now, comment down below to enter for the giveaway. Alright guys, let's head right into the main content, and it is Vergeben's quote. So he talks on GameFAQs, it was really recent, and he says, Ryu Hayabusa isn't the fifth character. I think what might have happened is some people got word that Ryu Hayabusa will be a character coming as DLC, but because of hearing his name, they assumed he was next. What recently has come out, on my side and others, prove that that was an assumption. I'm not going to go as far as to say Ryu Hayabusa is 100% coming as DLC later, but at this moment in time, it would make some sense of what happened with some internal chaos confusion with insiders and why some, like Sabi, are like, wait, no. Discussions for him being DLC seemed to be what leaked. I can at the moment only say that I know that Fighter 5 is not Ryu Hayabusa. The origin for Hayabusa, and especially him being Fighter 5, seemed like an assumption, is the point I'm trying to get across. So there is quite a bit to unpack with his comments here. And first of all, I really like it that we all get these like breadcrumbs and kind of information, because all the leakers, all the known speculators in this entire realm, everyone that has their sources, is basically saying the same thing this past week, right? Like Sabi that he mentions as well, it was the general consensus that we are not getting Crash and we are not getting Ryu Hayabusa as the next fifth fighter. Now, they don't basically bar them. They don't say, oh, they're not coming at all. They could definitely be coming, and of course there have been conversations, because what he says here and what it almost pretty much confirms is that discussions for him being DLC seem to be what leaked. So what leaked was that people actually were talking about it on the inside. So the name probably has been dropped, or the character is being worked on, or is coming as part of the later DLC for Smash Ultimate, or was considered at some point. But either way, those rumblings are now pretty much legit, right? It doesn't mean that it's coming, and it doesn't even mean that it's the fifth fighter. Now, Vergeben, Sabi, other people with their sources probably already know which character is next, or at least have a very good idea, and that's why they can safely say, well, it's not this character, because, if you would know, after Piranha Plant, like, Joker would be next, and you didn't want to spoil Joker, and people were like, oh, it's probably going to be Shadow from Sonic, or it's Waluigi. Well, it's not gonna be Waluigi or Plant, it's that idea where they can't really spoil it because that'll reveal their sources and maybe get someone fired. That's kind of how these things work, right? So what is interesting here is that 100%, he says, I'm not going to go as far as Ryu Hayabusa will not be coming as a DLC later. That is interesting to me, but at this moment in time, it would make sense of what happened with some internal chaos. So that part, I think that is really key here. It seems like there was some kind of shakeup right after Terry was revealed on the inside. Maybe the fifth fighter in the DLC was decided upon, and maybe some fan backlash or something like that happened, or maybe some realization where something changed internally, because we've been hearing something about this, some resemblance of an idea that pretty much that sphere is on fire, that world, that conversation. So I'm really curious to see who the next fighter is, so we'll probably know why there was a rumbling about this. Internal chaos, confusion with insiders, pretty much leans to the fact that, both in our world, the world of leaks and sources, but also within Nintendo's choice for the characters. So to me, it's super interesting to know that Ryu Hayabusa will probably not be the next fighter. I really had my money on him if I had to make a choice between him or Crash. I said that in our previous video, but yeah, the news only gets more interesting when we dive into the next topic, and that's actually talking about another character that now seems a little bit more likely, okay? It was actually now confirmed that Vice President and General Manager of Disney Japan, Justin Scarpone, has actually kind of talked about Smash Brothers, Nintendo in particular, because he was asked about this in something called Kingdom Hearts Insider. So I really wanted to take the time to kind of go through those comments, because there's a lot here to unpack, and pretty much the way that I said Disney works on the inside and the way that, they work together with other companies in our last video, that pretty much stands here, so that's interesting. So the quote, well, it starts with the general saying, Scarpone has really close ties with Tetsuya Nomura and Shinji Hashimoto, of course, very famously known from Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts. He says, from the most pivotal legal standpoint, the copyright of Sora as a character belongs to Disney. Disney cannot leisurely use Sora freely. When using Sora for any type of marketing, Disney always has to ask permission from Tetsuya Nomura and Square Enix themselves to allow the use of Sora's character. Whether it be in Disney or Square Enix, they want to make sure that Nomura would be 100% comfortable with the idea. Disney is not very restrictive, but rather very particular, so Disney would not have crazy strict control, as people would like to say. If all those things came together, then Sora in Smash would be something Disney would consider. Kingdom Hearts 3 is currently Disney's biggest priority. Anything after Kingdom Hearts 3's development, that is something Disney can seriously consider afterwards. Now, as you know, everything said here is super interesting, because I always thought it was a fever dream, right? Sora as a character, because of all the ties with Disney and even the Final Fantasy part of it, it just seemed too difficult to access. It's strange that in a world where we have Banjo-Kazooie in Smash Brothers, characters like Snake in Smash Brothers and Simon Belmont and all these crazy characters out of nowhere, that I would worry about a character like Sora, right? But, the Disney conglomerate of it all really gets in the way of that sometimes. Now, if we analyze the thoughts of this person, it's going to be really interesting, right? The copyright of Sora belongs to Disney from a pivotal legal standpoint. That's interesting because, Disney isn't necessarily the developer, but the publisher of those games, right? And they have a lot of stake and a lot of say in that character. And Disney actually releases stuff like action figures for Sora and stuff like that, and, plushies. So I actually kind of see where this is coming from. So Disney cannot leisurely use Sora freely. So they do own the character, but they can't just say, well, we'll make an animated show show about it. We'll, do this, and we'll do that. We'll use the character in this crossover. They cannot do that because when using Sora, that character, or any other character from that Kingdom Hearts world, Disney always has to ask permission from the creator, of course, Tetsuro Nomura, and Square Enix as a company to allow that they can actually do that, right? And it works the other way around, whether it be in Disney or Square Enix properties. They want to make sure Nomura would be 100% comfortable with the idea. So yeah, he's basically, the father of the character, so it would be really interesting to have that character be used in something and the father of that property not being on board with it. And that's interesting if we think about a character like Snake in Smash Brothers now, because I would bet a lot of money that Hideo Kojima wasn't directly involved with how Snake is portrayed in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I do know that Sakurai and Hideo Kojima are actually very good friends in real life, so probably he would have had some phone calls about him to just make sure that Snake is handled correctly, but in a very legal sense, he had no say in the matter, right? It was just probably a thing among friends, I like to assume, but the idea here is of course pretty similar, where they can basically only use Sora if both companies, Disney and Square Enix, the creator of the Sora character, all work together. So it makes sense, but what they say is that Disney is not very restrictive like people like to think, but rather very particular. Now, I talked about this in our previous video. There was like inside footage, like behind the scenes footage of them working on Kingdom Hearts 3 back when it wasn't released, and they were really, passionately talking in an interview. They were, lending a lot of character models directly from Pixar movies to the studio of Square Enix to help them make the characters and stuff like that, and really working together and getting different, fabrics and textures and everything to make the characters work better. So they are very particular. That doesn't mean they're restrictive or hard to work with. He actually goes on to say, so Disney would not have crazy strict control, as people like to say. They just really want to get certain things right, so the characters live on in the way that they want, right? And if all those things come together, this quote is really cool, then Sora in Smash would be something Disney would consider. So if all those things came together, they basically mean if all those parties consent. If everyone was like, yeah, if Disney was like, Smash Brothers is a great idea, we love Nintendo, and of course Disney has a lot of a working relationship with Nintendo. They did so many projects and so many things together. There's so many Disney or Mickey games like on Wii consoles and on Game Boys and stuff like that. There's SNES games, so that partnership will never die down. And of course Disney is huge, so I think that they always see the benefit of working with another party that is also, really, really big. And I think the idea of Mario and Smash Brothers being pretty family friendly would work very well with getting a character like Sora in there. That if that was like the conversation and not something like Mickey Mouse to be in Smash Brothers, it'd be pretty easy, I imagine. So this is pretty much flipped what I thought around, and now I actually think that Sora is pretty possible. So we go from a character not being possible as the 5th DLC to Sora actually in the whole pretty much being a lot more possible, and I think that's really interesting. So this video was kind of like a who's who of characters, so I'd love to hear what you guys think of this. If you comment down below what you think might be featured in our next video, I'll read your comment out loud. Today's comment question is, do you want Ryu Hayabusa or do you want Sora? That's a really fun toss-up, so let me know in the comments down below. And as for a previous comment question, our answer comes to us by way of user Failfleet, and I really wanted to analyze this comment. By the way, it's Failfleet2, so it's the second guy. He's saying, not Crash! Anyone else? Dante from DMC, Chun-Li, Doomguy, Master Chief, Tracer, Sora, Violet, Steve, Spyro, literally anyone except for Crash. Freaking Gino, sorry, I just don't see him as a unique Banjo or the like. Well, Failfleet, like I said, I really wanted to analyze a comment like this too, because everyone's, super excited about a character like Crash, but there are also people that really don't want the character. I don't think you give enough of a good reason for the character not to be in it. Unique as Banjo or the like. I think that Banjo is not all that special in Smash, and that's why I love him. He doesn't have some weird gimmick aside from the golden feather. He's just a character kind of like Mario, he just has, some zoning stuff, really great punches, really great, techniques, and a really great character model. And I think Crash could be the same. I think Crash could even potentially be more unique than Banjo, dare I say it, because Crash actually has a lot of really weird weapons. You know, he can use that really awesome rocket launcher that shoots Wumpa Fruit. He has a jetpack. He has things like the, extended abilities where you can belly flop and stuff like that. So if you grew up with Crash, which I don't think you probably have, you would have loved the character, because I don't think anyone has played Crash Bandicoot and said, this is not for me. Yeah, if you grew up with the character, I can just say you out of experience, that character fits perfectly with the Smash world, like down to a T. And even the redesign of the character, the way that it's just more vibrant, more expressive, it fits perfectly in Smash. You can almost like directly import the animations in the model. I think that they'll go about something like that the same way. So I wouldn't agree with you here, but I think it's really great to, show both sides of the spectrum. Sometimes people don't agree with things, and I do think a lot of the characters that you do name would be super interesting. I'm not all that into Byleth. I'm not all that into Tracer for Smash specifically. Chun-Li I think would be really cool, and there's something to say for Steve as well, being an icon. But thank you so much for sending in your comment. Of course, everyone for sending in. These are always so much fun to read through, and I pretty much do it all the time when I'm like in the studio. I'll just read you guys' comments and leave likes. Of course, huge shout out to our latest Patreon supporters and everyone who donates through Super Chat on live streams. You guys make this channel and my work so much fun and possible, so thank you so much. If you want to have yourself created in blocked content style, join me for live discussions, or even have your own video idea and you want to have it appear on this channel, well, go to patreon.com/blockedcontent, because I'll just make it for you. So there's a bunch of incredible rewards on that link, and they're waiting just for you. And remember, if you're not yet a member of the Blocked Content family yet, it's as easy as pressing that red subscribe button. Ring the bell for notifications, so every time we make a video, you get it right there on your screen. You can watch it directly or save it for later, so all the news you care about will be delivered on the daily to you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys around the corner, where there's always more Blocked Content. See ya.